Today I'll be showing you guys how to make a kamehameha effect for my stop motions or for your stop motions. It will be done in Premiere Pro, and I know everyone doesn't have this, but for those of you who do, I hope it's helpful. So here I'm just copying over my footage so I can show you the result with plugin effects and without plugin effects. Alright, so now we have our raw footage, yeah. We need to apply an ultra key effect on top of it. Then we need to add linear dodge add as a overlay. Then we need to set up all our keyframes, so position, scale, rotation, all of those, make sure they're ready. And then position the blast in how you would like it to be in the first frame of the animation. And then go frame by frame and reposition, rescale, and rotate the blast to fit what would look best in the scene. So I'm going to quickly do that and you can watch. We're going to take a look at the original, and then we're going to try and make it without the plugin effects. The effects you'll need are color balance and brightness and contrast, which come included by default in Premiere Pro. So then really you're just going to want to play around with these effects on top of your kamehameha or blast effect until you get something that looks good, something that you like. Personally, I like it to look like it's glowing. That's why I mess with the blues, make the core look bright, like how it does in the anime. I'll also make sure to include the link to the video, or I'll add a Google Drive link to all my green screen effects, sound effects too in the future, so you guys can use them too. And once you're done that, take a look, make sure it is up to your standards, and then our next step will be recreating the rays, the sort of emanating light coming out of the blast. And for that, we're going to apply our brightness and contrast and color balance to our footage underneath, our original stop motion. And then once we do that, play around until it looks good. It looks like it's actual light coming out of the attack, sort of. Once you get that, we'll move on to the next step. So the next step will be creating an opacity mask. So copy over your unaffected footage and then create an opacity mask so that your version of the footage with all the blue and blue lighting is now within that mask. All you have to do now is click on the mask, adjust the size and length of it so that it actually looks like it's emitting out of the kamehameha. And then you'll need to do the same thing we did before. You'll need to activate keyframes, click on mask path, and then track it all the way through. Also make sure you add some feathering and expansion if you would like. Feathering makes it look more natural, it dissipates. Once you've done all these steps, you'll have your effect completed basically. It won't look nearly as good as if you had all the plugins, and I'll definitely make a tutorial for using all the plugins. But this is just if you have base Premiere Pro. It's a really easy way to make the effect look good without the hassle and the actual lag of all the plugins too. Alright everyone, so here's the tutorial for making Kamehameha effect with all the plugins in my Premiere. So first you're going to want to obviously do your keyframes, etc. You want to have your Ultra key, aka green screen stuff. And don't change a setting like that. Then you want to use optical glow from Red Giant. I'm not going to go into how we get these effects because that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But if you have them, then that's great. You can use this. You can just copy my settings or play around with them. I'll just go in and show you what I did. So you want to use colorize here. You can change the color. If you change it to red here, it slightly changes, but I refer to it as blue because that's what the attack is. Now you want your alpha channel to be on extend unmult, because if you have it as preserve original, it won't go further than what the original effect is. This just makes it so it can expand outwards. And then you also want to apply volumetric rays. And you can just copy my settings here, but let me just close this. Volumetric rays is the next effect. Yeah, just copy my settings here. Ignore the part where it's keyframed. That doesn't really mean anything. It just means it's just a leftover from when I copied the effects over from another part of the another scene. To see when I change it, adds a keyframe, whatever. But this is how it would look. You can see how the blast is exploding out, and there's a blue. It looks like the blue light is coming out of the blast and actually affecting the scene. Now here's what I did for Beerus and his giant sphere of doom. Yeah, same here. Optical glow. I used keyframes. You can see the light sort of expands and contracts based on what the scene looks and needs. I also tinted it and used volumetric rays. Tint is fairly self-explanatory. And for this effect here, I just took Beerus's giant ball attack. That's actually the same effect as the Spirit Bomb that I use. So for this scene in the Dragon Fist, it's just a PNG of Shenron that I tinted and added optical glow to, so it would look like he's actually using it out of energy. See, if I turn the tint down, you can see Shenron originally there. And for this effect here, it's actually taken from Xenoverse 2. I just put it into Photoshop and edited it, so I took the character out of the attack. But same thing here, you add optical glow. I didn't need to tint it here because it was already orange-ish in the original. See, if I turn the optical glow off, you can see the original effect. You also want to use linear dodge with add on it. Otherwise, if you don't, it will just be black because optical glow will mess it up. Linear dodge just basically keys it out for you. Now we can go over some animation tricks. Actually, we'll go over this first. So for the Beerus faceplate moving thing, I just took, see there's the original frame with Beerus's head. I just superimposed the open mouth onto the one with the closed mouth to give that effect of talking. And then for Goku talking, I referenced Daima, and I just drew out each frame by hand. But if you're doing this, make sure that you lower the FPS of the original animation to your FPS. Otherwise, it won't work. So in this scene where Goku punches Beerus, see how when he impacts, let me just go frame by frame here and increase the size for you. See how he's flying in and the camera's moving with him. It gives that sense of flow. The camera's zoomed in, and once he impacts, we zoom out to show that he's actually like really hurt, and you know. Then Goku pulls his arm back. We cut to a scene of him pulling his leg up to show that he's like taking sort of a stance so he can absolutely wail on Beerus. Here it's just his basic gut punch, and then he immediately throws in another one. For this punch to the face here, there's no frame where Goku's hand is really close to Beerus, but Beerus actually hasn't been hit yet, because when I do that, I feel like it slows down the effect a lot, and it makes it feel like the impact didn't hit as hard. And then I just simply looped it in on my stop motion studio app. For here, when he grabs him, notice when he gets gripped, his hands kind of flow out. And also look at the way his body is reacting to the hit. If like the punch is just as important, but what's also really important is how they react to getting hit. Because if they're just kind of not really moving after they got hit, then it kind of looks like they're just punching a brick wall. Here's another example. When Beerus punches out, the camera follows his hand, and then we quickly shift the focus to Goku, who's pulling in for an uppercut here. Then Beerus gets sent flying away. Another trick here is that the camera zooms in while Goku is preparing a jump, so it really shows that he's like crouching down, getting ready. For scenes like this, where they're in the air, I'm actually holding them up with my hands most of the time because it just allows me to get easier poses and etc. Impacting the ground is another important thing. When Beerus is flying down, you see he's coming down pretty fast each frame. And then he like snaps backwards because he's hit the ground really hard. He's going to bounce a bit because I feel like that's just what would happen. And then Goku here does the same zoom in tech and he's like clenching his spine. He's like contracting every part of him and then he flexes outwards or whatever it is. And then when Goku hits the floor here, I shook the camera a bit to show he really smashed into the ground. Then this scene, I pulled the camera outwards while zooming in to give this strange effect. And then Goku moves in, and then you can also change the focus. When you're changing focus in stop motion, you can't just do it in one frame because then it'll jump sort of. Here, the camera is following Beerus's hand, and then as he hits Goku, the camera will shake a bit to really emphasize the attack. And then Goku comes crashing down here. The camera is really close to him to sort of hide some tricks I use. A lot of the time, if the character's off screen, I'm holding them to really get the pose I want. And he powers down here. This is the talking scene. Another example here, right before he charges in, we get a little bit of a zoom. He pulls back and then he flies in, just to show he's like charging up his rush. Then we go here, does a bit of a slow motion. Beerus weaves. Then see how Goku punched with his whole body? That's also another important thing. You can't just have them throw their arms out all willy-nilly, otherwise it will look kind of butt in my opinion. But yeah, you need to have them throw with their whole body. This is just another simple effect with opacity. Yeah, that's basically it for now. I'll go way more in depth on stop motion later, but I just gotta finish the one I'm doing right now because I can actually use that one as a proper example because I can record myself while doing it. But until then, you guys will just have to wait for a proper like super in-depth tutorial. But hope this is enough for now. Yeah, thanks guys. Bye bye.